think it's old-fashioned.
Okay. So, this presentation has much to do with the work of Sean Turnbull. That's why when we met him half a year ago, we found so many common points between his work and our work that he even allowed us to present his papers here. So this is like a slightly different way of thinking about the same issues. Okay, so. Dear colleagues, before starting my presentation on human and resource economic system, I would like to say a few words about its main creator, Mr. Hares Youssef. Hares is known as a successful entrepreneur in having business interests in metallurgy, real estate, industrial engineering, IT recently, and other sectors. Yet, for last years, he devotes more and more of his time to philosophical search and social studies, aiming to contribute to development of a feasible model of more just society and sustainable economy. The key feature of human and resource economic system is its holistic paradigm, which recognizes profound interconnection between economical, political, cultural, psychological, and other types of social processes. We must develop a solid vision of the society on next step of evolution and understand systemic effects of changes in specific points of this system. This requires a multidisciplinary international research network to emerge. Result of work of such a scientific community would provide both a solid basis for the third sector to let various NGOs to coordinate their efforts in pushing for certain reforms, and also it will provide a reliable reference for politicians. For us economists, for us too I mean, this work was extremely interesting and useful as an opportunity to approach the well-known economical concepts from a completely different perspective. By the way, this is page 170 in your book. Yeah, I was going to say it before starting. So please treat this paper rather as a broad philosophical research and vision, with more deep economical investigation still ahead. So, there are four major adverse global economic tendencies which are both commonly recognized and sufficiently severe to make their solution a principal task of modern economics. This is deepening of economic inequality, which we see represented by US Gini index, environmental degradation. So, according to WWF, for 2007, the percent of Earth biocapacity used was already 1.5 times more than it actually can bear. And now it's a bit even bigger, and it's going to double according to the before 2040. So, world's natural resources depletion. So we can see different kinds of resources, and there were a lot said yesterday about the tragedies of Nauru and like other examples on how can it look when certain resource exhausted, and systemic crisis. So we can see GDP and leading economic indicators since 60. So if you count all the all these lockdowns, you can see that we had around 16 more or less severe economic crisis during that period. So we have roughly one recession every 5 years, and this period is shortening time after time. So why is it so? The first problem, inequality, is associated with the idea of justice, while the latter three with the idea of sustainable development. Both these notions are in no way addressed by the today's mainstream economics, and this fact is what me and my colleagues consider one of reasons why the four problems above become more and more acute. The possible solution of these problems is complicated by the fails of modern markets. Actually, you know that neoliberal economical thinking relies on markets almost completely, with allowance of certain degree of regulation, but small one. So they are induced by both persistent lobbying efforts of industries and laissez-faire policy stance. This can be distinguished to those of financial markets and of goods markets. In the short run, they induce economic instability, lack of balance between supply and demand, and distortion of value, while in the long run their effects lead to overproduction and are associated with systemic profound crisis, rest of which the world is experiencing today. In general, the set of market problems results in distortion of the principal function of market system, the informational function. This function is expressed in all the multitude of information on the status of supply and demand through one simple indicator, the price, which is determined from supply side, from production cost, and from demand side by perceived utility for consumer, or value, as we can say, which determines his willingness to pay. These three crucial informational indicators, price, cost, and value, are what today's economic model is unable to set adequately. Worldview of a modern Western world representative is shaped by many centuries of struggle with hostile factors of environment, with scarcity, in combination with the individualism typical for European civilization. In the foundation of this worldview lays the profound subliminal fear of future. In modern economy, this fear has found its expression in the four principles of economic behavior: reserving, insurance, privacy, and security. Me and my colleagues agree that these principles are useful in extent adequate to the real risk level. However, as soon as they become fundamental guidelines for economical behavior, for economic agents, this is fraught with a serious obstacles to market functioning. In particular, insufficient information, inefficient extra costs, idle financial capital, etc. These impediments are the profound result initially and the vicious factor later for the above-mentioned market fails. So, now to financial markets. First problem is notion of money neutrality. The financial system has grown to a very big and awkward certification about the real economy. The banking sector deregulation lobbyists enjoyed great support from the mainstream economic theory that for a few past decades has been denying the ability of the financial system to influence the real part of economy through the monetarist assertion of money neutrality, despite the overwhelming empirical evidence on the contrary. Another inconsistency of the mainstream economics is ignoring the heterogeneity of the different social groups' behavior while developing applied economic models. These two things, money neutrality hypothesis and ignoring social classes, do not let the economists to deal appropriately with the issues of poverty and economic inequality, deepening, caused by volatility of the current economic system. So, price fluctuations are normal for every market, but the excess volatility is inherent precisely for financial markets, in particular for the international currency market, and is mainly caused by the participation of big speculative capitals, providing supply and demand that do not reflect the needs of real economy, and stem from a desire to profit on fluctuations in the price of currency. This has been much addressed yesterday, so you can see this, so I will not stop really too long on this point. This is JP Morgan Volatility Index, which there are like main G7 currencies involved here. So you can see the average volatility is way above 10%. And in October 2008, which was a very interesting month for the whole world, it almost reached 25%. This is that peak. This is October 28. Floating exchange rate of national currency is recognized by the modern economic theory to be useful for national economy, as it allows the state to stimulate domestic production by the means of expansionary monetary policy, and to boost net exports and total revenue of the local economy by reducing the exchange rate of national currency. But it is not well recognized, and here we come again to social classes, that in the national economy, if the national economy is export-oriented, which is peculiar for the less developed countries, the expansionary monetary policy can lead to a significant rise in the consumer price index, exacerbated by higher prices on imported goods, which often are price inelastic. While shareholders of exporting entities benefit from evolving sales, their employees suffer real income decline. The income disparities always widen after depreciation or devaluation. So, however, there are different points of view on inflation. The proponents of moderating inflation rate, well, you know the neoclassical argument to support the inflation rate. Yes, so they reduce real expenditures in government sector. There is a money illusion which allows